Welcome back to another JERiCK podcast episode. My name is JERiCK.
My name is Charmy.
Welcome back.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's always such a pleasure to be here.
And obviously, thank you for coming because I know you're very busy. She's actually needs to rush in right after this and do sound healing, which is super dope.
Thank you.
Is there any let's start a weekly update. Is there anything cool this week that you would like to share?
Well, aside from the sound healing, later today, I'm actually doing a rest week. So
Rest week.
yeah,
that's awesome.
for Thanksgiving and just really recalibrating and just taking a pause and really celebrate Thanksgiving and being grateful.
So when you said rest week, you're gonna start. Today's Sunday, tomorrow's Monday. Are you gonna just take a break for the entire week of Thanksgiving?
Probably until Friday or Saturday. Usually when I have my creative impulses, I just want to do it.
Yeah.
But yes, mostly if as much as I can, I would really like to pause and honor sacred pauses and just really slowing down. Well, also my dad's coming from Philippines tomorrow, so picking him up. So
Ooh,
yeah,
that's fun.
yeah, I'm excited to see him. I haven't seen him in a few months. So
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
thought it was years. But,
yeah. Yeah.
Wait, does he live here?
He does. So he retired and
Oh,
he's
okay.
been living his life in the Philippines. And whenever we get on FaceTime, he's like, "Oh, look at this fresh food I'm eating." I'm like, "Great, good for you."
Right. I'm I miss fresh food.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, that's really cool because I feel like I need to do that too. I don't know. Sometimes when I'm taking a break, I do feel guilty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then sometimes it's hard for me to just really turn off, in a way that's I mean I do try to rest, but then sometimes I'm still thinking about doing things.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
I feel that. And I feel like this is why sorry, were you done? Were you
No, you're good.
complete?
Yeah.
This is why I'm honoring sacred rest and what it means to actually just rest and recalibrating. My whole intention for this week is really recalibrating, and I find that when I honor rest, I get more creative than just really running always all on
Yeah,
impulse. So I find that rest, there's this, I'm not quite sure if I mentioned it the last time, but Einstein quote, "You cannot solve a problem with the same mind you created
Yes.
it with." So resting has been in the in between for me. Yeah.
Is it you decided to take a rest week because you're burnt out, or you just decide not you just want to take a rest?
I just want to take a rest. I've actually my relationship with burnt out. The more that I'm learning that is really my relationship with burnt out was I have to keep doing something then and just keep doing and doing and doing. But whenever I do that, I'm just forcing things, and that's when I get the burnout.
Yeah.
But when I'm moving from a place of rest and relaxation, things actually comes easy. Things aren't so complicated, and I get to be able to find more solutions than always just being hyper vigilant of thinking about the solution.
Yeah, because I do realize that too. That when I do decide to just take a quick break of something, and then the next time I go back in,
Right.
I'm definitely more creative, and I guess my mind is a little bit more open to things. Because because when I started moving all my equipment here, my music equipment, I was coming here every day, right? I was trying to create something, just to be more
Yeah.
productive. And I think it was maybe a week and a half later, one day I was just I don't really feel like going to the studio because I guess I was just physically tired, mentally a little bit tired too.
Yeah.
So I just decided to just stay home and just chill, watch a movie. And the next day I came back, I was just I feel more productive because I actually took a break and just relax instead of always trying to try to work so hard,
Yeah. What I'm learning is being busy doesn't mean I'm productive.
That is true. That is true. You're just you're just busy.
I'm being busy because for the sake of being busy, just so I won't feel like I'm not being productive.
Yeah.
But really, being busy isn't, to me, is not being productive. I've really been shifting with my energy of have you heard about the 80-20 rule?
Um, I think I have.
Yeah, where you focus the 20% of your energy and just allow the 80% to flow. So now what I've been doing is really focusing and learning what to focus on than my, because I'm very creative. My energy can be everywhere.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I can just do everything. But also what I'm learning is really what it means to be focused on my energy and the things that are really more important to me that I know uh, really that will help me later on than me just doing all these different things. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. I feel like my 80-20 is the opposite. I'm like 80 of hard work and then 20% of just kind of like whatever happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need to like figure out like a
Yeah.
good balance for
And
that.
and as you keep going forward, you will know your balance anyway. Of course, there are times when you gotta go figure out, hey, is this really truly working for me? And as we go forward and as we learn all these things, we get to see like what works and what doesn't work, what is important to me and what's not important to me. And I think you can know within yourself of what truly is. If we really go deeply of when I'm just really trying to be busy and when I'm trying to be productive.
Yeah. Because I don't know. I gotta figure out that perfect balance, honestly, because I think I'm slowly getting there though.
Yeah.
Because before I would like really force things,
Yeah.
but now I'm like, okay, maybe I just need to like do a little bit, and then I think just really honoring something that feels right and feels good, because I know when I'm being productive and I know when it feels good, right? And then I know when I think I'm productive, but it doesn't feel, it feels forced.
Right.
So yeah, just figure out that perfect balance. But yeah, I mean, I guess it just really depends too. Like some days it's just, sometimes it feels like you like working harder is like the right
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no. It's not linear.
Yeah.
But to me, what comes like the word that comes with me for me is actually the word dance. How am I dancing with it? How am I dancing with the busyness, or how am I dancing with the productivity? And I agree. Like sometimes it's just like, hey, I am going to work on this because I know that this feels right. It
Yeah.
truly is about like following the gut. But I'm
Yeah,
also
yeah.
like, for me in my experience, just really like paying attention and being aware when I'm not within my own self of when I'm just really trying to force things because I want an outcome.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So the outcome, yeah, I'm just really forcing what it means to like, or am I doing it for an outcome? So lately, what I'm learning is not doing things for an outcome, but because it feels good within my body and within my spirit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I really need to work on too, because I'm so used to, especially with the things that I'm trying to do, like, oh, you got to do this so you can make content for your, for your career, for your social media, whatever. Um, but sometimes it's just, it feels good to just make music without any certain outcomes.
Yeah.
And just like doing things without, I guess, thinking about what is this gonna get me, or like what is this, how is this affecting like my I guess my goals, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, my process, if you don't mind me sharing, is because I am also my work is social media as well. And allowing things to come through. But there was also one point where I got so burnt out because I was like, I gotta have content. I gotta
Yeah.
go put this out, or I gotta go do this. And I'm learning what it means to be non-resistant or just move at a pace of, I'm actually enjoying the work, not forcing the work. I find that people can resonate more with what I'm posting when I'm actually not being stressed about what I'm going to post.
Yeah.
Um, and just really, to me, and just really what it means to be non-resistant and just allow. Like I'm so exhausted of trying to work and I'm forcing shit just to happen. Sorry, excuse me, French. You can hear my passion about it, but yeah, just trying to force and just force and force and force and force. And I find that well, what's coming up for me now is the things that I was doing then to get me out isn't working anymore, and now I feel like I have to force. I was talking to a client a few weeks ago that it's also about expansion, that maybe the universe is asking for us to do things differently than what we used to, because that means it already helped us with our own growth at that moment of time.
Yeah.
Now as you're expanding, the lessons are expanding again, like, level 1, level 2, and like, there must be something I need to learn about myself to make this to for me to get over this level, for me to learn something about myself as I go through this level.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because like you can't really keep doing the same as much as you want to do the same shit, because like, oh, this is working, but getting onto that next level, yeah, you got to change it up, right? And that's why, honestly, one of the reasons why I just kind of went all in on this space is because I felt stagnant. I just need to, like, it doesn't fully make sense, but like I have like an idea of like what I want to do, but I just need to just like, I guess, go all in on like what I'm like feeling like I want to do, when it comes to music, YouTube, podcasts, those are like three different things. And honestly, I'm not sure like what's the right choice. But then I don't know if maybe there isn't. Maybe I should just do all three. Like, I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, and maybe the option is it doesn't have to be one. Maybe you can just play with all three, like you said.
Yeah, because like, we hear this like, oh, like seek your niche, right? Or do one thing at a time. And it does make sense, like you can put 100% of one thing instead of doing, a few different things. But then I'm like, I don't know. Like I like all these things equally. And I'm not sure, like I said, like I don't know exactly what the right path is at the moment. But I just know that, I don't know, like I kind of want to do all those.
Yeah, maybe 100 on each.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have to be one. I feel like the whole idea of I feel like it's such a societal conditioning of no, it has to be one. This is your path. Actually, what I believe in my own experience, that as the world changes, nothing is ever the same. Everything changes. So you might as well enjoy like how you are and what you want to do at this moment, because maybe later on that will also change.
Yeah.
And I feel like everything that from my experience, from where I was at, you learn something about yourself, and as it changes, you learn something about me being a nursing assistant, me being in real estate, me being a server. I learned so much things about myself throughout that, and I felt like it was so necessary for me to go through all of those, so I can learn about myself. So whenever I go through my own like questioning, I'm like, hey, this is something I know that this will help me later on. It's just something that I have to go through right now so I can learn something and then go on another level again.
Yeah.
But I feel like you could do anything and everything, really. It's just the societal conditioning where you said like, no, it has to be one. But I acknowledge you, because you're doing all three. You're doing all three.
That's true.
And it takes a multifaceted individual to do that.
Yeah. And I think I just really need to like honor myself too. It was just like, I mean, I feel like I know what feels right to me. But I always kind of, always think about the future instead of just staying here right now. I'm like, hey, if I'm having fun doing this right now, like this is it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
No.
like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes when we have such an I guess dreams, big goals, we tend to focus on the future and be
Oh,
like,
for
when
sure.
I get there,
Yeah.
you know, like
For sure.
that's gonna be it. But like what I've really learned a lot recently is just like enjoying the now.
Yeah.
And because like you never know what's gonna happen, you know.
Yeah.
I do one thing in one day, and then it's like all of a sudden there's like a big shift, and it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And accepting those changes and
Yeah.
allowing those changes. And I find that people have so much shame whenever they do those changes.
Right? Like, why is that? Like, because like, oh, like if you change your mind, like, oh, are you quitting, or like, you know what I mean? And then people kind of like, hey, I thought you were doing that, and then now you're
Yeah.
doing this.
Yeah. May I say something about that? Actually, in my class today, our if you don't mind me sharing.
Go for it.
So our topic today was actually fear of the future.
Ooh. Okay.
Um, and usually our fear of the future is actually, or fear of judgment is actually because of the scared of being the lack of love, feeling rejected.
Mm-hmm.
That if I do this, then maybe people will reject me, and I'm not gonna be deemed acceptable. I'm not gonna be deemed, deemed like what I'm doing is right. Especially in our culture, where what we're taught is actually you have to be doing a corporate job, or you have to do like some blue collar job or something like that, when truly it truly is about, to me, it's about creativity. It's about accepting where I'm at. It's about and all these things. And people are hurting because they're scared of shame, because shame could mean rejection means I am not going to be loved. Overall, we're all just really trying to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
And we all want to be accepted. And my experience as a creative, and not going against the grain of every Filipino culture there is, which is like just some corporate job, or not some, because those are important too, corporate job, or like nursing, and all these things, that it's such an identity that I've held on to, that I have to be that when I'm not that, I shame and guilt myself for not being that.
Yeah, and then you feel like a failure, right?
Yeah.
If you're not.
And the more that I try to prove everybody, no, I can do this shit. Which is still coming from a place of scarcity and coming from a place of not enoughness.
Yeah.
And I find that, okay. Something's coming up, which is beautiful. So imagine yourself as this white, bright light within you. Imagine yourself as just this awareness, because all in all, we truly are. We truly are just really awareness itself. When you were a child, before all these stories were created of what's right and wrong, you are just awareness itself. And that awareness has no name. That awareness is just so pure and so quiet. That awareness is actually creativity, because from that place, without the bounds of people saying, no, you can't do this shit, or no, you got to do this, the shoulds and the shouldn'ts, the need and the have tos.
Yeah.
You're actually just a pure being who can create.
Yeah, because think of like kids, right? Because they think that they can do everything. They can do anything.
Yeah.
They can be anything who they want to be, and there's no limitations there.
Yeah.
But then, as they grow up, all they hear is like, oh, you can't do that. You have to do this, So it's very limiting, and then that's when like it gets ingrained, So you have to kind of break through that. And unfortunately, like a lot of people are still kind of like stuck in that, because they hear it their entire lives. Be like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that.
And what's ingrained is what you think is to be true.
Yeah.
And I find that in my experience, the whole journey of this life is to go back into that inner state of just pure awareness, of taking out all these identities of who I think or I shouldn't be, just so I can get back into that state. Because freedom to me is self-expression.
Yeah.
Freedom to me is creativity. Freedom to me is imagination. And being in that state of no bounds. And like you said, if a child, like having that imagination as a child that you can be anything and everything, imagine living that in this moment right now and how that feels like in your body to just create like a child and just do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Because the people who taught us that no, you can't do this and you can't do that, it's also because they weren't allowed and they weren't taught how to be themselves as well.
Exactly. And that's why I always kind of preach and just like do whatever you want, you know, as long as you're not hurting other people. Like, why not? Like, just be free. Honestly, like not caring about other people's opinions of you is like the ultimate freedom.
Yeah. I got in a little deeper with not caring about other people's freedom because I noticed the past few weeks of how much the more that it's coming online of how much of a perfectionist that I am. But my perfectionism was also based off other people's opinion. So I was still bounded on that.
Because you're basically kind of seeking validation.
Yes.
Because you wanted to look a certain way.
Yes.
You know?
Because I want to be loved.
Exactly. And that's the root of it. Like you're just looking for love.
Yeah. I think we're all just really moving from a place of wanting to be loved.
Yeah.
Either I could overwork myself because I still want to be loved and seeking approval, or I go the other way and don't do things, but I'm still seeking for love.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So there's an actual in between to that. I don't. Okay. How do I say this? So either I overworked and it's still coming from a place of scarcity, or I go the other way and just really like, oh, I don't feel good enough. I'm still coming from a place of scarcity, right? But once we find that who we are in our being and really tap into that essence of who we are without the name, without all these stories, without who we think we should be, without who we think how others will see us, if we get into that liminal space, it's not liminal either. It's that space of just quietness and presence and creativity, and moving from a place of enoughness has taught me so much trust, has taught me that I don't have to be anything but myself, and trusting who I am as where I'm at. I was just telling a student earlier that if you trust yourself, you trust the universe. If you trust the universe, you trust yourself. Because the universe created you.
Yeah. And
you are the universe. So when you start trusting you, then you trust the universe. And everything else opens, truly. Everything else opens.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because for me, I don't know when this started, but I just stopped asking for like advice. It's not that I'm like not seeking for like new knowledge or anything. I am always searching, right? But when it comes to like let's say my creativity or I guess just like my art. Like I never asked for like what should I do? Like I never asked that. Because I feel like this is my self-expression, and this is what it's just like purely based on my perspective and my taste, right? I either think that this is good or this is not good. And me asking for advice outside of myself when it comes to like, let's say my music, like it doesn't feel right to me. And it's not because like I don't think I know everything. I just know that this is what I think it should be. Like, I don't know, like that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. I'm gonna give an example where karaoke, Filipinos love karaoke,
Yeah.
right? And I hear people around me, no, you should be singing it this way and you should be singing it that way. And I'm like, I'm not even supposed to be that. I'm not supposed to be Whitney Houston because I'm not Whitney Houston.
Exactly.
I'm Charmy. I'm going to sing it the way Charmy wants to sing it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like all these, and I feel like this is how people and children's confidence gets put down because they have to act or sing, and let's just say sing a certain way.
Yeah.
And I find that because I sing and I don't give a shit of how people like, when I want to sing my heart out, I will sing my heart out. And I find that people get really, really scared to do that. I'm like, oh, I don't feel good. I'm like, I can't sing. I'm like, you know what? Everybody can sing. And I tell everybody can sing. Everybody can sing. Truly, everyone can sing. It's just your own perception to what singing is. And when you compare yourself to Whitney Houston, then of course you're not going to feel good. But let me tell you, you are not Whitney Houston, and that's totally okay because you can sing it the way that you want to sing it.
Yeah, and that's why like there's so many people out there right now that are. It's basically like a cookie cutter art. People are just kind of copying what the trend is. And it's like, I mean, I get it because like, they want to chase that kind of like clout, right? Like, oh, I want to do this because like Drake's doing it, or, like you just kind of, I mean, there's like also like you're inspired by somebody, right? And then you kind of like somewhat like imitate him in a way. But for a lot of people, I feel like they're not necessarily like they're not trusting their judgment when it comes to art. Because like, you shouldn't be able to, or like you shouldn't allow people to tell you what you think is like, what your taste is. Because like, it's your perspective, right? Like if I eat a food, either I like it or I don't. Right, like there's no way like you're gonna change my mind. Like even if you like it, you know what I mean? Like there's certain foods that like I don't like, and then there's food that I love, and then like it's just like that's just my taste. Like like that's what I love. And that should be like how you look at your art. Like if you think it's good, and then maybe not a lot of people do, like it's somebody will find it.
For sure, trusting that the right people will reflect that to me. And also what I hear, because like I find I hang out with a lot of creatives as well, and I hear the of the no, is this right, or is this like, what do you think of this? And whenever I hear that, I feel so much compassion, because that means they were taught by the world to not trust themselves. And
that's true. That's true. I didn't necessarily look at it that way,
of like them being taught by the world why they can't trust their own opinions, and that's how that's how I see it. Not just creatives, but actually other people too. And what do you think of this? What do you think of that?
Just or like asking the clothing, for advice, general advice.
Yeah, but I feel like whenever I'm getting that, because I noticed that within me too, and I remember the times that I would do that because I couldn't trust myself in my own decisions, that I feel like that my decisions isn't good enough, and because I was taught that making my own decisions always got me in trouble when I was younger. So now making my own decisions is something really scary, because I can't trust myself, because I was taught that me making my own decisions is not good enough.
That's such a... And then everybody goes through that too, right?
Everybody.
I feel like
everybody goes through that. It's just those minute little details as I go through my work, and I get to see how the world is truly suffering because of their stories, and the stories that are created, the stories that make them seem like they're not magical creatures. I feel like we're all magical creatures.
Yeah.
We're all divine beings. We're truly divine beings that we just had all these stories of what we think we are. It's like, having a circle, right? You're this ball of light.
Mm-hmm.
Then all these stories are just there. But we think we're the story, so we jump onto the story.
Yeah, that's actually what the last episode of the podcast was. Me and Felicia were talking about that. Basically, to generalize it, it's like you are not your thoughts. You're just observing your mind, and then like how you're like, I guess, like whatever you're thinking, it's not necessarily you. And it's like, I don't know, like it's such a weird complex, but like it's so true though.
It's beautiful.
Like when let's say you're reacting to something, right? Like something that happened. Like I kind of noticed that sometimes too, because before I would just react, and like because like, oh, something happened, I react this way. But now I kind of, I guess, pull myself out of it.
Beautiful.
In a way that's like, all right, this happened, same situation. I have a choice. How do I react to it? Like I can go back to my usual reaction, or I can choose something else.
Oh, that's the power of awareness.
Yeah. And it's like when I started doing that, I'm like, oh shit, like I have more control than I thought.
Yeah.
Instead of just like reacting to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's so much power in that because it also allows you to see that you are a powerful being.
Yeah.
And to me, the invitation is which areas of my life can I apply this at? That's how what I would do for my practice of, how we do anything is how we do everything. And then it becomes like an awareness thing, like a game of awareness, like, well, oh my goodness, I was holding on to this, or I was reacting the same way, coming from the same energy in this particular area of my life.
Especially like your trauma triggers.
Yeah.
Like those are the things that really like kind of in a way test you, because I just remember one day I was just like, I'm getting hit with the same trauma.
Yeah.
And like, but now I'm aware.
Yeah.
Instead of just like, oh shit, like I gotta react to this, So that was such a beautiful thing. And it's like, like you said, it's very powerful.
It truly is.
When you know, like you have more control over your emotions and your reactions. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and to go in a little bit more deeper on that one, I find that, and this is what I hold people with the work that I'm doing, is how to not always be, because like it's beautiful that there's the awareness. It's so beautiful to be aware that, like, hey, these are my thoughts and this is what's going on, and what I do is help hold people's hand as they go through their process to really feel the pain, because this is my belief and this is my work, that these things keep occurring because they have not been felt or they have not been seen. A lot of people, which is so normal and I have so much compassion for, people don't want to feel it because it's painful.
Yeah.
And because they think when they see that part of themselves, they feel like they're unlovable. The reason why people don't want to look at it, it's because they think they're unlovable. And then there's something bad about them that they shouldn't be seeing, because if they see themselves, and they're going to beat themselves up more for it, when feeling the feeling is already painful.
Yeah.
And what's beautiful about this is tapping into you're really not your stories. And that these things and triggers that occur is actually just, these, not unless if it's felt and being acknowledged, they will keep showing up everywhere. Our mind predicts and protects.
Yeah.
And what it does is I was giving an example earlier where you wake up on a bad day. And then as you go through the day, everything is bad. That's confirmation bias.
Yeah.
Because once you have that underlying belief that it's going to be a bad day, then that's what you're going to see.
Because you look for it.
Yes.
You look for the signs because, like you said, confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias, because that's how the mind is protecting you. Now, my work is reverse engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Reverse engineering. So this way you can go back to that moment of when you were a child, because these emotions and triggers, again, because they're not felt, then they're going to keep showing up. And not until they're felt, which is the most scariest thing that people can feel. And this is why people try to avoid it. Totally makes sense. Because this was when you were younger, right? For the listeners, this was when you were younger. When you felt it, you felt rejected. And you don't want to feel that rejection again. So you do all sorts of ways. Addictions, it could be mental habit addiction, it could be spiritual bypassing, it could be anything, just not to feel. And I ask to give grace to that part of yourself, because it's totally normal that you don't want to feel and you want to avoid. Totally justifiable, because no child ever wants to feel pain.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm inviting is, how would it feel to actually just love the part of that yourself that's in pain and allow her to exist, and me as I'm talking to myself, and how it feels like, because when you were younger, our parents, right, like, don't cry, and the more that it invalidates your feelings, what would it mean to validate your own feelings? What would it mean to be your own healthy parent, to allow for all emotions to exist?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's wholeness, when you allow every part of you to exist and accepting those parts of you, regardless if you feel like that part of you that's shameful. I have a part of me that's the shame part, and she's scared because, she's scared because if she feels shame, then she's going to get abandoned. Because if she gets abandoned, then she's going to be unloved. But that's not true, because that part of me, I'm not trying not to validate it, because it is true for her, because she feels the pain.
Yeah.
Which means it is so true for her that she's feeling that. And I want to acknowledge that. And so my work is, how can I be there for that part of myself to just exist, and me not trying to say like, hey, don't feel shame, or you shouldn't feel ashamed, and just actually accept her for who she is and love her like, hey, a part of me feels ashamed, and that's totally okay. I still love you anyway. And that how that feels in the body of just total acceptance and total presence with yourself.
Yeah. Because everything changed when I really accepted myself for everything that I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a it was a weird feeling, because I've never felt it before. Right? Just fully accepting me.
Mm-hmm.
But now, I feel like I'm such in a healthier space, and I also have healthier boundaries, because obviously trying to protect myself, but at the same time, it's I want to do what's best for me. And whatever that means, right? I'm just let me calculate it in my head, how I'm trying to explain it in a.
Please, yeah.
It's just I guess I'm still trying to evaluate it in my head. But I just I don't know. I can't think about it right now, but what I'm trying to say is love yourself.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's doing whatever feels right, doing whatever feels good, and don't feel guilty for anything outside of that. If you say no to somebody, or if you say no to certain things, because I was growing up, I was taught to be a people pleaser. And
it probably took you so much strength to be on the other side, huh?
It did. I think it pushed me so hard like it was kind of forced out of me, basically. Like,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
I
your
was,
breaking point.
yeah, at my breaking point, I was just like, I'm done. Like,
Yeah.
this is because I learned the lesson multiple times. Well, I guess I didn't learn it, you know what I mean? So like I had to like keep relearning the same thing
Yeah.
until I finally decide like, okay, like I'm good now. Like I've learned my lesson, and that's what I really hope for a lot of people too, to just um whatever you're going through, whatever lessons that you're learning right now, just kind of, um I guess embrace it instead of like avoiding the lessons, because I think we tend to avoid certain situation.
Yeah.
You said something earlier about spiritual bypassing. I remember doing psychedelics for the first time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then I honestly thought I was just gonna be like, I'm just gonna live out in freaking spaceland and just like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just bypassing all the reality.
Yeah.
And obviously it's not sustainable.
Mm.
Um, you just kind of have to, I guess, really face the trauma sometimes.
Yeah. To me, it was about really what it means to feel my humanity, and the humanity also means trusting my own self and just really I had my breaking point with the universe, and it's always a breaking point before I am able to get into another level. But
I think it's always like that. There's always tower moments, right?
there's always terror moments, but I pray that because I feel it's death to me, ego death, and I pray that I get to learn how to die more gracefully every time.
Hey.
And not just like always like,
you don't want I don't want to be pushed so hard.
Yeah. But what I was gonna say is I had my breaking point where like to the universe, that I was just like, whatever it is, whatever I need to face and whatever you want to show me, even if it's painful, I will receive it and I will look at it so I can learn how to be with myself more gently and love myself gently. Allow me to show me where the parts of me that I still hold on to, and parts of me that I still hold on to, the identity and the way that I shame and guilt myself, and just show me. I got to a place where I'm just like, you know what? I am just so sick and tired of being so sick and tired that please show me what I need to see so I can be free. And the more that I learn that it's really just truly about being gentle with myself and being compassionate towards myself and honoring each other's journey, and what it means to listen to myself. We tend to like to me, just my experience, to tend to just quickly people ask like, what do I have to do this? I'm like, okay, maybe what do you need to listen to, like, just listening to yourself and what it means to listen to yourself. We're usually quick to problem solve. But when we problem solve, we're not listening to what's truly going on within.
That's true.
And just really like asking ourselves in the deepest ways of what it means to be gently with ourselves as we go through the process. I feel like it's the facing ourselves is the scariest part, because people think that they're not, that they're their stories, that they're unlovable. It really boils down to people feeling unlovable. I find that people get into addiction, it's because they think they're unlovable. People who overwork, it's because they think they're unlovable. People who don't work because they think that they're unlovable. And when we get into that state of just really being present and being safe within our own selves, and what it means to just know that you're truly beyond, and not just speak of it, but really experience like what it means to be your own presence, to be in your own presence, the less it dissipates. It truly dissipates. It dissipates because the truth comes out more and you are seeing who you truly are. The less the world becomes scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snaps.
Snap. Snap.
Because I mean, at the end of the day, that's all it really is, right?
Yeah.
Just love yourself. It's like, I know we keep saying it over and over, but then it's like you need to hear it over and over.
Yeah.
For some people, like they just, for some reason, it's not. I guess they're not. It's not resonating. You know.
Yeah, especially if you're clouded by doubt.
Yeah.
It's hard to see. Especially if you think that you're unlovable. Oh shit, it's hard to see. It's hard to feel that. I remember before when people would tell me like, "Oh, just love yourself." I'm like, "God damn, what does that fucking mean?"
Right? Like when I used to hear that,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's so corny.
Yeah, and it's like that's bullshit. What do you mean? I fucking love myself now, like
Exactly.
you know. And my experience and what I'm learning is actually loving self means accepting every part of you, even the parts that I feel like I'm shameful about.
Mm-hmm.
And not just push her away. Because before I'm like, no, don't even think that thought. No, don't think that thought. That I didn't realize I was bypassing. And there's still like parts of me that still I'm like, no, don't think that thought. No, that's so embarrassing. Please don't. So my practice lately has been, what if I just allow that in my body to feel embarrassed?
Yeah, and then just kind of let emotions in and out, right?
Yeah.
Because I think we try to avoid or bypass like negative emotions a lot, because especially when you become spiritual, there's guilt or there's shame when feeling negative emotion, right?
Yeah.
Because like, oh, I've already kind of grown past that, right?
Yeah.
Like
I
why
shouldn't
am
be
I
feeling that.
like why am I judging, or why
Yeah.
am I reacting negatively? But it's just like, you're human. Like you make
Yeah.
those mistakes, and then don't I'm not saying I'm saying feel it, but then let it go. Don't dwell on it, right?
Acknowledging the feeling.
Exactly.
Just to acknowledge the emotions and like, really just acknowledge and allow them. There's no end to this until we die. Then
Yeah.
we go back to like all the ethereal shit. But to me, the more that I accept my emotions and what it means to be human and acknowledge my emotions, oh shit, this is how I feel right now. Oh shit, like, I'm judging right now. Oh shit, like, all these things. And just acknowledge that they exist. The more that I get to accept every part of me,
Yeah.
the more I'm not bypassing. And acknowledging that there are parts of me that are like that. And it's totally okay for them to exist.
Exactly. And that's just like you said, fully accepting yourself for who you are.
Yeah.
All basically everything, all the baggage that comes with it, all the good stuff, like just no judgment, no shame, just accept who you are.
May I say though, even if there's judgments or shame,
Yeah, even then.
and even then of just embracing the judgments and that they exist, or even the shame dies when told in safe places is one of those quotes, which is so true. Shame dies when you speak of it. Shame dies when you honor it. Not that there is any death to that, but the more that it really dissipates when they're acknowledged, when they're truly felt and acknowledged and accepted.
Yeah.
What happens truly is they become your ally.
Yeah.
It's when they're not felt is when they become more evil from other people's perception. But truly, all these ego stories have become so much of an ally when they're accepted. Because it's like, imagine when you were a child. Okay. Imagine when you were a child and let's say you feel embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
And then a part of you just say like, oh, don't do something embarrassing, or like, well, this was based from your parents, your caregivers. Don't do something that's embarrassing. So the more that you don't feel yourself, the more that you judge yourself when you feel embarrassed. And this memory can keep playing on until you're older. So the more that you bypass and not allow yourself and invalidate yourself for not allowing yourself to feel embarrassed. When it's okay to feel embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to feel that emotion and to be human enough to just feel that.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes I do, I react to things.
And we all,
I was just like, well, fuck, like now it's like triggering me.
Mm-hmm.
But before I would like really, like react to it. But now I'm just like, okay, I got a little bit mad there, but now I can just let that shit go.
Yeah.
And fuck, shit happens.
Yeah, I find that I go into this journey. The more I go into this journey, the less things are actually triggering me, because I've accepted that part of myself.
Yeah.
So because I've accepted that part of myself. Really, well, I was going to go back to this again, but it's not triggering me the way that it used to. The more that it has less power over me, the more that a person can say something and I'm just there smiling, not because out of my ego, but because I understand where they're coming from. But I have my own,
sure.
Like I feel so secure and safe within myself that I know where I'm at. And it's totally okay. And blessings and blessings and blessings to the people who cannot see it, because I also understand that it's also triggering them for their light to come out. So
yeah, and that's why I think I've talked about this in the podcast before. When people hit rock bottom, whatever that means to them, I'm always kind of, not that I'm just like, it's not that I'm happy for them, but I'm just like, okay, now, because I feel like sometimes we need to get pushed to that point in order for us to change.
yeah, I'm like, congratulations.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess it's not like I'm happy for them, but I'm just like, good for you, you know? Even though it sucks. Like, I know it sucks. I've been there, you know? A lot of people have.
Yeah.
And it's...
Like, congratulations.
Exactly. Like, now it's time for you to, like, figure it out.
And my breakthroughs have been truly from places that I've been in pain.
Same for me too. Honestly, like all the stuff, everything that have happened to me, I'm always very grateful for. Because if that didn't happen, even though like there's a little bit of like saltiness in there, but then it was just like, I'm so glad that happened because it changed me.
Yeah.
For a lot better, honestly. So all the breakups, all the relationships that have failed, basically everything that has happened is because it had to happen for me to become who I am today.
For sure. I texted my ex like a few months ago and I was just thanking him. I was just like, thank you for the breakup. Like, really, because it truly pushed me it was my breaking point to learn how to be there for me. And that I honor his journey. I truly honor his journey, because he also, what we went through and what happened was also because I'm honoring both of our journeys, because it really taught me so much about myself and what it means to love myself, not knowing that the whole time I was truly looking for happiness and safety from him. So I texted him a few months ago and just saying, like, truly, I was not, like, I can't be grateful enough, because it's truly what I needed so I can learn how to be there for myself and love myself completely.
Yeah, and then it's just like, it gives you that certain, like, closure too, you know what I mean? When you do that, like, because I did something similar too, right? Like, I basically talked to my exes and like, I was basically said the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just glad that things happened the way it happened, and I guess it changed me for the better, and I honestly hope the same for them too.
Yeah.
because I have no like it's like some people like hate their exes. Like I don't never felt that way. I never I've never talked shit about my exes. I've yeah, I mean, sometimes I get a little salty, you know, but it's just
totally
like,
okay.
It is what it is, right? Like, shit, like.
It feels like a completion of a cycle.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it's like there's a little bit of saltiness in there, but other than that, it's like, hey, wish them luck.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for coming again. Like, this is a
you.
very insightful conversation. Before we end, is there anything you want to plug or anything that interesting that you're doing?
Okay. Well, one, there's one that's going on later, which is the sound healing.
Unfortunately, it's already too late for that.
It's too late for that. But, okay, yeah, that's so true.
But then, maybe they can go to the next one.
And then, well, I hold it monthly at Soltara. So, it's hammock healing. And then the second one is actually, I'm launching a program called Release. So, Release is your release from your narratives and your stories that you're, like the perfectionist, the limiting beliefs, and the mental chatter. And really it's a 3-month process of unraveling, of letting go, of releasing, so you can get back into your own self in ways of acknowledging who you are without all of those. My question and invitation is, who are you without your stories? What would you do without your stories? Who are you going to be? How are you going to act? How are you going to walk? How are you going to talk? How are you going to present yourself? What are you going to do without all of those stuff? But if you feel called, totally welcome to join in the program with me. Again, it's 3 months.
Where can they find you?
charmycasino.com. All the information are going to be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming back, and hopefully you'll come back again.
Yes, I love it. Thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here. It truly is. And thank you for giving me a platform and the space to actually just speak and have a conversation with you. And really say what I love. So,
hey, thank you for sharing your knowledge, honestly. Like, I learned a lot today, and it's always a pleasure talking to you. And yeah, I think that's it for this episode.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in, everybody.
And we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Peace.